Okay, so now we have gone through what programs are, what algorithms are, and some basic ideas of what programming concepts are. So let's start stepping into Python, which is where we're going to be introducing and really understanding the concepts or actual programming syntax. So Python, right? Um, why Python? So Python is it's a very clean and simple language of many different languages that are out there. It's probably the language that's easiest for someone else, like who's not a programmer, to pick up and read, which from your perspective, it means that, you can start programming fairly quickly because the words are in English that you're writing, and it's a fairly simple way to go forward. It's a very expressive language. Um, and then I'm saying here that it's dynamically typed, right? So you don't have to pre-assign variables before you use them. You can kind of define that variable upfront, and Python will know automatically what type of variable it is based upon what value you're putting in that variable. It does automatic memory management for you. In some languages, you have to define variables and then let go of those variables so you're not holding on to that extra memory value. And one more thing is that it's interpreted. So many different languages, you actually compile the code before you can go ahead and start using it. You can compile Python code, and in some ways it makes it more efficient code, which is something that you can, go into and learn in a later environment. But for first starting out, you don't have to do anything. You could just say, run this line of code, and it will go ahead and do that for you. There's something called, and sometimes it's called an IDE or an IDLE, which stands for Integrated Development, that L is learning environment, right? So it's just an environment that you can interact, and it's an interpreter of Python code. We're going to be talking about a couple of them. I'm going to showing you for the purposes of this class and for much of the first class. Just a simple environment that we'll all be on the same page as, but I just want to let you be aware of it. You can, in a shell window, right, you can do something called IPython, which allows you, right, it will give you, this is IPython. Sometimes you'll see the three arrows, which will allow you to type in Python code. We're not going to be doing that in this class. But just be aware that there's, native, this is on a Mac, which automatically gives you Python loaded. You can set this up fairly easily on a Windows machine also. So there's numerous different IDEs. One is PyCharm and Spider. Those are development environments. There's Jupyter Notebook, which is also but a simpler development environment. And what we're going to be using is Google Colab, or Google Collaboratory, which is an IPython notebook loaded up into a Google environment. The nice thing about Google Colab is that we're working off of the Google server, so we're all working in the same environment. Sometimes when you download something onto your own machine, you have to be aware of the nuances between the different machines, and certainly an environment like this, where I can't come and specifically help you debug your environment or understanding why something might be going wrong in your environment versus a different environment. Having a tool that everybody's in that same environment is very useful. So I'm going to show you a number of different ways to go on it. The purpose of the rest of this video and this part of the class is just to bring you up to speed a little bit in Google Colab, how to open it up on your window. And then subsequent to that, I will be teaching you from assuming that you have a Google Colab window open in front of you and can start playing around with some of the lessons that I'm teaching. So within Google, you have to open a Google window, and then you'll see your typical 9 boxes. Once you get to those 9 boxes, you can click on Drive. I'm going to show you 2 ways that you can get to Google Colab. This is one way that you can get to it. You can click on Drive. Once you've clicked on Drive, you can click on New, and then you could click on Google Colab. You might not have it preloaded in your environment, so if you don't see it, what you can do is you can go to More, and from More, you connect more apps, and then you should be able to download Collaboratory into your environment. Or you can go directly to Google, to Colab, right? So if you go to colab.research.google.com, you can you can explore the page, you can go to more resources. And when you go to more resources, it gives you a bunch of different resources, but I would suggest that you focus on the overview of Colab and the guide to Markdown. Please go there, play with it, get used to it. In addition to that, you can go to these 2 videos that kind of get you started in Google Colab. Okay, make sure that you can set this up because it will make the rest of class, where we're actually going to be coding in Python, much easier. Just a few introductory remarks about Google Colab, and I'll show you this once I have it in front of me. This is going to be the title of this IPYNB is the extension, and it stands for IPython Notebook. And what you can do is if you double click on this, you can change the name. So instead of it being called Untitled 0, you can call First Class, or whatever it is that you want to call it. Then you'll have 2 options to do here. I'll take you through this once I have a Google Colab in front of me, but if you want to start playing with it on your own before we actually get there. So code will actually give you the environment to write code. Text will give you, within Google Colab, it's very nice because you could both write comments that's not as code, and you could write code. So the text allows you to write comments. One of the overviews will give you some basic information about Markdown that, just as a highlight, like the first pound is going to be like the highest level of a title. 2 pounds will then show you like a slightly smaller title. If you want to go ahead and type in your first line of code, the typical value is, right, so it's going to be a function that you're calling. And the function that you're calling in this case is the print function. So what print allows you to do, right, is you're writing that word print like you're seeing here, and then you're sending in a parameter value into the print function, right? So the parameter value is certainly within Python and very frequently in numerous is. So this is your function name. The parentheses, if you're not sending in a Python value, then your parentheses would be empty. Here, you're sending in the parameter value of hello world. And what's going to happen is when you actually put this in, hello world is going to be displayed back to the screen. And this is what it would look like, right? So here I've changed the title of my Python notebook to be intro1.ipynb. The extension of IPYNB you should not change because that allows Google Colab to know that it's actually a Python notebook, just like you're familiar with DOC to be a Word document. So too, .ipynb is the extension that allows it to know that it's a Python notebook. And this is a code box, as you can see by this arrow. So if you type this in here and hit this arrow, it's going to print this back to the screen to show you that it worked properly and it did the printing of hello world back to the screen. Okay, that's your intro. Like I said, before you go on to the next video, make sure that you've followed, if you need to do it, to follow the notebooks, but make sure that you can change the name of the title, make sure that you can do this initial thing and do the print of hello world. Okay.